from Asheville, North Carolina.
Welcome to the GCN show!
Yeah, we know Brady.
Welcome to the GCN show.
Coming up this week, new research has thrown a light on whether FTP, the yardstick all cyclists are measured by, is actually total rubbish. Are we doing it all wrong? We hear from our friendly Professor Louis Passfield.
We've also got 2 super expensive love it or hate it bike launches, some news from the world of ultra endurance, and plenty more besides. Let's get to the show.
This week in the world of cycling, we learned that the world cyclocross champ, Olympic mountain bike champ and Tour de France stage winner Tom Pidcock's ambitions know no bounds.
No, after he's thrown his hat in the ring to go for the next UK's Prime Minister after tweeting, "I reckon I'd be good at that," after getting 6 A's at GCSE.
Yeah, but he did spell reckon wrong, unfortunately. But anyway, we're getting pretty low on options here, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does get a call from the King at some point soon. Now, along with the rest of the world, cycling also piled in to the farcical political situation here in the UK. Daniel Free tweeted that Dan Bigham held the world hour record for longer than Liz Truss held office.
Yeah, Wanty Group Grubert tweeted that they've got more sponsors than Liz Truss had days in office, which says it all, I guess.
It does, really. Now, moving on, we also learned this week that the Zwift Academy finalists have been announced. That's the 10 riders competing for those 2 professional contracts. We are delighted to say that we are going to be there filming again. You've got to wait till December for that series of videos to come out.
Yeah, but don't worry because there's familiar faces there. We've got Liz Howling, who's a big hitter in e-racing. We've also got Gooper, who's back from last year, and we've got Il Bandito, which is going to be some spicy racing, I reckon.
Oh, that is going to be good,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I know.
I can't believe Cooper's back.
Guess who's back?
Cooper's back. Yeah, right. We also learned this week that FTP, or functional threshold power, might just be a load of old codswallop.
Well, yeah. Potentially, Si, because we've just read a study that is from Setko et al. That worked out how long people could actually sustain their FTP for. Now, the industry standard is 20 minutes. That's your 20-minute test, and then it's multiplied by 0.95.
That's right, and that kind of estimated FTP is a number then that many of us base our training plans off, our training zones off, our training sessions off, as well as impressing our mates.
Yeah.
Or trying to.
That's, I guess, the important one.
Yeah.
But the really interesting thing about this test is that what people could actually sustain their FTP for. And when tested, the pros came out on top with their 51 minutes that they could average their FTP, and then it went all the way down to 35 minutes, which I guess says it all, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, so a recreational cyclist in this test could only hold the power that theoretically they could sustain for an hour for 35 minutes. And even pros could only do 51 minutes. Basically, the better trained you were, the longer you sustain your FTP. So it throws into question, in my mind anyway, all of the basis of these training plans, because FTP clearly then doesn't actually mean what everyone thinks it means. But fundamentally, we didn't really know exactly what it means for all of us, which is why we called in the big guns, Professor Louis Passfield.
Hold on, Si, is that the guy you filmed with, and then you made a big head come out of a teapot?
Yeah, we made his head really big and come out of a teapot. Yeah, we did, yeah. He was our genius. Get it? Out of a teapot?
Yeah, no, I did get it. Right, should we just roll to the video?
Yeah. Louis, thanks so much for joining us today. We made a video with you before about the usefulness of FTP, but to my mind, this study feels a little bit like it might be the nail in the coffin. So firstly, could you give us an idea of why there's such a big variation between these sort of like less fit cyclists and the pros in terms of how long they can hold that intensity?
Hi, Simon. So, I mean, on one level, it's actually quite intuitive that should be the case, because you would expect that professional cyclists would have some level of higher performance than recreational ones. And in this study, what they did was they recruited 87 cyclists and divided them into 4 groups. So they had recreational cyclists what they call trained cyclists, well-trained cyclists and pros. We know that the pro cyclists will produce more power, but we would also intuitively expect that they can produce that power for longer as well. And so in a way, this is what that study is showing. It's saying that pros not only produce a higher power, but they can keep that power going for longer. It kind of makes sense. It's a consequence of the longer, harder training that they've been doing compared to recreational cyclists.
But I thought the whole thing about Coggan's model in the first place is that he theorized that if you do a 20-minute test and then multiply it by 0.95, you get your FTP, which clearly if you're a pro cyclist, you almost get your FTP, but yet that theory is being reproduced across the whole spectrum of cyclists, and clearly it's not true. So why is that?
You're absolutely right, Simon. So as you said, Allen and Coggan suggested that we could use a rule of thumb where rather than having to ride for an hour every time we wanted to know what our FTP was, because the hour power is our definition of FTP, they said we can instead use a 20-minute ride and then take a shortcut of multiplying that or taking 95% of that to get our 1 hour power. But of course, that's a predictive model. It's not an accurate calculation. And so what we're seeing is that rule of thumb is not as accurate as we might hope.
So do you think then that basing training on a metric like FTP, which is what a lot of people are doing and have been doing, is a mistake then? Because surely it would mean that less well-trained cyclists are training proportionally harder than better trained and professional cyclists.
Yes, it's a really good question. And on the face of it, I would just agree with your statement that would be the case. But actually, if we want to delve a little deeper and be a little bit more thoughtful about it, then it doesn't necessarily mean that at all. So firstly, if your training involves efforts around 20 minutes, then your 20-minute power is still really good. So it works equally well, regardless of your ability, because that's still your 20-minute power. So it's only the longer efforts that we're estimating from the shorter durations that really get affected in that way. But there's another valuable insight for us here too, which is that if within your training you can actually find the time to evaluate your 20 and your 60-minute powers separately, then you can actually index yourself according to the data from this study. So we know that if you're a pro cyclist, you can go around 50 minutes. If you're a recreational cyclist, you only go around 35 minutes based on 95% of your 20-minute power. So you've actually got a new, if you like, metric that's come out of this, which is, okay, what's your staying power at 95% of your maximum? So you've actually got more information, if you like, than before.
One question that many of the viewers might have is that are they making a fundamental mistake in their training if they're basing their zones and their workload off their FTP? So is there a risk of that?
I would say the risk is actually very small, because although these differences are quite meaningful from a physiological and even a performance perspective, what we don't really understand very, very well or very clearly is the precise training intensities that we need to maintain and how much they can vary without really affecting the training response. Fundamentally, cyclists want to get fitter. And what we're saying is we don't really know exactly what the relationship is between the dose of training that somebody completes and the response that they get from that. So a variation of, say, 5 or 10 watts in the training dose doesn't really translate into any meaningful difference in terms of the training response, and it's the response that we're looking for. And if you go out on the road, for example, immediately your power output is going to vary by 20 or 30 watts during a ride, even if you're riding on a nice flat piece of road under really standard conditions. And as soon as you hit a lumpy or technical session, or you've got traffic to deal with, then your power is going to vary much, much more than that. So actually, those kind of variations in power will be much greater than the difference between estimating your functional threshold power from a 20-minute test versus doing the actual full 60 minutes. So in the big picture, I don't think those variations are critical, but there's just it's useful to be mindful that all of these rules of thumb have limitations, and here you're aware of what they are. And it could well be that if you feel that your fitness is at the lower end of the spectrum that was studied here, then be more conservative about how your 20-minute power translates into a 60-minute power. And if you're a pro, then you'll know that you can go pretty close to that. And in fact, Simon, just coincidentally, I'm just about to launch a vlog, and this happens to be what I'm going to do next on it. So if anyone's interested, they could actually check out, follow me on Twitter, and I'll update it once I put the vlog out. But I've done a 20-minute ride indoors already. And in the next day or so, I'm going to do a 60-minute ride, and we'll see whether I can hold 95% of my 20-minute power for the 60 minutes. So I'll vlog about that for anybody who wants to watch it.
Okay, so Louis, what's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is Trainalytics, or if you search Louis Passfield on Twitter, you should be able to find it. So it's not up yet, but I promise I'll put that up over the next few days, and I'll explain why I'm doing it as well. So there's a good backstory to it too.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, well, we'll come back to it next week's GCN show. How pro is Professor Passfield?
He's not.
Why do you think we've ended up wedded to FTP so much as cyclists?
Well, I think this kind of comes back to my previous point, that in the absence of a physiological laboratory at your fingertips, then you need some tools that you can use to help you with your training. And in two ways. You want something to evaluate whether you're progressing in the right direction or not. So is your training moving you as you wish? And then something to help guide you set the training intensities that you're aiming for. And I think FTP plays a useful role in both of those situations.
Is there a credible alternative that we could begin to use instead of FTP?
So I think really the way that I think about this is training is a learning journey, and what you're doing is trying to learn about your own body's responses and what really makes you tick. So in a safe way, you want to try and experiment with different types of training session, different types of training load, and those kind of things. And within that context, I think FTP works really well. Is there something else? Well, as I said, if you have access to a physiology laboratory and you can go and get tested there and get additional physiological measures, I think they add to the picture. But I don't think you necessarily need to replace FTP. Rather, you can gather more data. Now, if you don't have a laboratory, you might add in your heart rate response, you might add in cadence and those kinds of things. They all give you a little bit more information, but there's no one piece of information that on its own is completely right. I mean, there are plenty of people who've got extremely fit with never going near a power meter, so they have no idea what their FTP is. So it's not an essential metric, it's just a useful one. We don't need to be too tightly wedded to the numbers.
No, that's good to know actually, and a good reminder that while it feels like it might be all-consuming to chase these numbers, in and of themselves, they're fairly meaningless, aren't they? Because that's not ever really what someone wants to be good at cycling, having a high FTP. Well, some people might, I suppose, but being a professional trainer is not quite the same as being a professional cyclist at the end of the day.
That's it. I mean, people ride bikes for many different reasons. Some people want to get fitter for different reasons. It may just be to enjoy using their bike for fun, for transport, recreationally. Not everybody necessarily needs to maximize their performance, but they might still want to get fitter. And it doesn't, so you don't have to be, as I said, wedded to the numbers at all. And it's not necessarily the only successful strategy for improving. As I say, the most important thing, I think, is learning how your own body responds and works in response to the training.
Great stuff. Well, Louis, thanks so much for joining us again, being the voice of reason in this debate as well. And apologies for making you a giant head on the GCN show once again. But anyway, thanks again, Louis.
You're welcome. Have you got me coming out of that teapot again?
Yeah, we'll do that in post.
So there you have it. Let us know your thoughts on that, and we would love to hear it down in the conversation below.
Yeah, I'm slightly relieved, to be honest with you, to hear Louis' kind of fairly matter-of-fact, common sense answer to that. But even so, I think it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And now it's time for cycling shorts.
Cycling shorts now, and the first ever Rhino Run is underway, and it's attracted a star-studded field. We've got Sarah Hammond and Sofiane Sahili, who's attempting it now, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. So this is the latest ultra race on the cycling calendar. It started in South Africa a few days ago, and it will finish in the capital of Namibia, 2,750 kilometers of mixed surface later. So you can kind of imagine with a route like that, I think you've got like the garden route, you've got like rugged mountains, you've got Namibia's dunes.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's tough, and you can see why it's got the field that it's got.
Yeah, now being late on in the season, I don't think every athlete is in their top form. Sarah Hammond has had to abandon after day one, but then Sofiane Sahili is gone into touring mode. And what I mean by that is that he's going for 11 days instead of his previous or what he was going for before, and that's only because he wants to make his flight home.
Yeah, but put it this way, touring mode for Sahili is still 250 Ks a day.
Yeah.
Which is pretty hardcore. Now, as ever, if you head over to .watcher.cc, then you can get the play-by-play as it happens.
At the moment, there's a huge battle going on at the front of the race. We got Bianchi from South Africa and Abdullah Zenab from Australia, who are basically kicking 7 shades of out of each other at the front of the race.
Yeah, they are indeed. Yeah, right, okay, moving on now. Last week, there were 2 very big, very premium, and very polarizing bike launches. The first of which, Bianchi, they've launched their new aero bike. It's called the Oltre SR. Now, leaving aside the love it or loathe it looks, actually, let's not leave it aside. James, what's your take?
I reckon it's a grower.
Grower?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it definitely stands apart, doesn't it? It stands out, in fact. Now, 2 very interesting tech developments. Firstly, air deflectors on the head tube. Now, supposedly, these create low pressure zones behind them for your legs to sit in, basically. So together, bike plus rider then go faster. And then on that integrated stem, there's also a similar kind of like gap in the middle, which creates a low pressure vortex. So yeah, but hopefully you go pretty quickly on it.
Yeah, those are called aero holes at the front of the bike, and
is that like A-holes for sure?
Yeah, I was gonna say A-holes. It's quite good. But also, Bianchi are making some pretty bold claims with this new bike, and if true, I mean, it could be pretty exciting. They're saying that you could save 17 watts hitting speeds of 50 kilometers per hour.
Now, who wouldn't want to save 17 watts at 50 km an hour?
I could do with saving that wattage, trust me.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's basically like about the most you'll ever improve your FTP.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Too right.
Well, that would be good, wouldn't it? Now, Bianchi are calling this Oltre RC a hyperbike. Now, certainly it has a hyper price tag on there. The top of the range one starts at just shy of 14,000 euros.
I mean, that sounds like a lot, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
But then straight away, the next day, Specialized began to normalize it, I guess, bringing out their new gravel bike, and that carries a price tag, the Diverge STR, of 15,000 euros.
However, it is only $14,000, so that sounds better, doesn't it?
I guess.
Yeah, it does. Now, this is like the latest example of someone designing a full suspension gravel bike. So up front, you've got Specialized established Future Shock, which suspends the stem and the handlebars. But then out back, they've basically built on what Trek have been doing with their ISOspeed and Cannondale have been doing with their Kingpin, but they've gone one step further and actually added a damper in.
Yeah, and got a whole lot more ugly, I guess.
Well, yeah, it stands out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So basically, they've engineered this giant flexible seat post, but you can tune the amount of flex that you get either by swapping seat posts out, and also then that clever bit, which is the damper that's hidden inside the top tube, and that then controls the movement so that you don't bounce around like you're on a pogo stick. Now, it does sound like journalists who've ridden this have been really impressed by it. James Wang, I noticed on Cycling Tips, was. And having not ridden it, I can't really comment, but I will anyway.
Oh, God.
Well, I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. Because 30 years ago, right, mountain bikes went through a phase where a lot of full suspension bikes were designed around unified rear triangles, which is basically where you suspend the rider, but not the bike. So just like this Diverge, like, the squishy bit is in your saddle, but whereas when you stand on the pedals, it's fully rigid, right?
Yeah.
And whereas mountain bikes quickly moved on, I do appreciate that gravel bikes are different to mountain bikes by design. We bang on about that enough, don't we? But I just can't help but thinking that maybe the answer to the problem of having a smoother gravel bike is improper suspension. I don't know.
Well, I guess we'll find out in 5 years' time.
We will, yeah.
Anyway, moving on from Stey's Nostalgia Fest to someone else's. Now, I spotted this on Twitter that I thought was really cool. Now, someone in Arizona is selling their replica Eddie Merckx era Volvo 244. And I want to bid for it.
Oh, look at that. That is cool, isn't it? And if you put your new Specialized gravel bike on top, then your bike would only be worth 5 times more than your car. So that's not bad, is it? Yeah.
I mean, I want it though. It's so cool.
And it's only done 237,000 miles, so it should be good for another couple of months, shouldn't it?
There you go. Anyway, get bidding. Anyway, moving on. From retro to modern, now we've got Wahoo, who have just released a whole suite of updates to their X indoor training apps. This is the RGT training app that has actually encompassed a voice messaging, which is a big upgrade, isn't it?
Yeah, voice chat, isn't it? Which is really cool. So this is where you're riding along and you can chat to people you're riding with. It's not like you're riding around with a megaphone. So there are settings, of course. And it's not like you're having to listen to other people riding around with megaphones, which is good. But it basically means that you could do things like coach-led training, or if you're racing, you'll be able to talk to your teammates, or perhaps most importantly, you can actually just have a chat to your mate when you're going for a virtual ride, which is pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, from anywhere in the world. They've also got a brand new mountain bike route they've added to their pro rides, and what's really cool is you can take your structured workouts outside via the 4DP, and this is done by their head unit. So you can literally take the 4DP training workouts outside with you.
That is cool, isn't it?
And in other news, we've got a new jersey, a limited edition one. This is the Campione limited edition GCN kit, and it's available now in the GCN shop.
Oh no, not
Halloween.
now. It's available from Halloween, I think, isn't it?
From Halloween.
I think. It's available now! A reminder, in the GCN shop, we have, of course, our new book, the Complete Guide to Cycling Psychology.
The three-faced Mark Beaumont. I've seen him in that majority of the time. It's the scary one.
Yeah. He's like a kind of Greek god, isn't he, there, with three heads.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of photos, I've been enjoying having a look through, and I found this lovely one of you, Hank. That's quite cool, isn't it? That was probably you at your lowest ever moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what's going through my mind there.
Make it stop?
Make it stop, Kim.
Now, here's a thought. What was worse, riding a tandem with Mark Beaumont for 800 miles non-stop, or drinking 8 espressos and actually having to DNF?
Drinking 8 espressos.
Really? You'd rather...
Because it's not even only that. Ollie also beat me, and that was hard to take. I got dropped by Ollie.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we end the show now?
Yeah, we've got some more. But yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. It's now time for hack / Why are you doing it the other way? Look, it's a /
Oh my God, we've gone back there again after 4 years. It's because the viewers see it the other way around.
Oh, is that actually why?
Yeah, it is, yeah. Okay, let's start with...
Is that actually why?
Yeah, seriously, that is why.
Because the viewers see it.
Yeah, isn't it?
I know it. Yeah, no, that is, because it's mirrored.
Okay. Right, Cyclehound. Send this one in.
Mind blown.
Inexpensive wheel storage solution. I needed a way to safely store the road wheels my wife and I use when riding our gravel bikes on long rides on pavement. Bought a $9 garment rack from my local Target department store. Is it Target?
Target.
My local Target.
No, it's Target. It's Target, 100% it's Target.
My local Target.
No, it's definitely Target.
My local Target. Anyway.
Yeah, no. Target.
Yeah.
No,
anyway, there you go. Look at that. Like... That is really neat, but do you know what makes it? Is those boxes underneath. There's a whole thing about things that fit, isn't there? And that's really pleasing that fits, or they've made it fit perfectly.
Yeah, 4 boxes.
Yeah, so
Jenga.
It's an extravagant solution, even if it only costs $9, and not exactly space saving, but I like it, and so do you lot by the look of it. 94% of you said that was a hack. What do you think, James?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a hack.
I think it's a hack because it costs $9.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah. No, I like that.
We got one in from Asif Hunter. DIY disc brake cleaning cover. Now, basically wanting to get their own, so went to the local thrift shop and picked up 2 kitchen grippers for $3. And cut a slit and a hole in one, then zip tied them together, and it slides over the rotor perfectly with the assistance of 2 clips. And then you're good to go.
I mean, that is a neat and cheap solution, but it feels like it's a solution to a problem that I don't personally have. I just don't protect my rotors when I clean my bike, and my brakes are fine.
Are they?
Yeah.
Mine are a bit squeaky. Is that because I'm doing something wrong?
Well, I mean, yeah, no.
Because all disc brakes can get quite squeaky.
They can get contaminated, so yeah, it might be because of that. But no, mine are all right. They're just, I don't know. Anyway,
yeah,
that's cool. If you need it,
it's not about us.
No, it's not.
It's about you.
If you need it, that's a hack. Personally, I'm going to say.
I'm going to say bodge.
I'm going to say bodge.
Yeah.
And actually, oof. You've scraped it. 51% of people will say that is a hack. So well done, Asif. That's cool. Right, next up, we've got Snowfill. Tissue paper to the rescue. The mind boggles at that headline. Lost my Aero seat post adapter for my Garmin radar rear light, so I took a tissue paper to fill in the gap. It actually worked better than the Garmin adapter. Plus, I used it to clean some of the sweat off my bike. Simon and I should have a sweat contest one day. Is that sweat that we're looking at on your bike?
Can I just butt in? That reminds me of the state of Mark Beaumont's bike after the NC500. So he had his bottle on the front of his bike, and he kept putting his carbohydrate drink in.
Yeah.
And as he was pouring, and when he was going with bumps, it would come out of the bottle. So every 6 hours or something, I had to clean the bike, and it was literally like thick grime, slime all over the bike, and it reminds me of.
Mate.
So I kind of needed a few of those tissues.
You took one for the team there, didn't you?
It's true.
I mean, this is a very budget solution to.
It's a bodge.
Too expensive bits of bike, but you know, if it works, it works. You know, I think I just don't like the fact that it's infused with sweat. Although I must be so, I've got my Canyon Air Road, which is also matte black, currently on my indoor trainer, and this morning I walked past it and I was a bit like, oh, that is gross. Like it looks quite similar.
And you do sweat a lot.
Yeah, I do sweat a lot.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, I can't deny.
Anyway, moving on. Tokyo Curie.
I mean, did we say bodge for that?
Yes, we did say. I said bodge.
You said bodge. I'm gonna say hack.
Right. Let us know in the comment section below.
Well, 49% of you lot say that was a hack. Sorry. So you it is a bodge.
It is. Okay, cool. We got there.
Yeah, we got there.
We got there. Moving on. Swiftly.
Yeah, it's a bit like Brexit, that wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was such a knife edge, but eventually we got there, even if it was the wrong decision. Whoa, let's steer clear of that. Right, okay.
Yeah. Tokyo Curie for a Japanese hotel for cyclists. A hotel for cyclists in how do you say that? Chikura?
I don't know.
Ibaraki in Japan. The rooms have hooks for your bicycle, or you can put it on the racks outside. It would be safe here too. Tool room that. So here we go. They even provide sandals if you only have cycling shoes. Best for all craft beer on a tap. Well, there you go.
That is cool, and I love the look of it.
So we basically got racks, helmets. There's all sorts of cycling paraphernalia going on.
Where'd you get the helmet from? Oh, that's his own helmet. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's the free sandals, mate, and the craft beer on tap. That's cool, isn't it? I'm a big fan of that. That's a hack from me.
I do quite like a cycling specific. They think about the details because there's last thing you want to do is walk around in cycling cleats.
Yeah.
So it's a hack from me.
I mean, technically it's not a hack, is it? It's just a really nice hotel. But still, in this case, it's definitely not a bodge.
Yeah, I've just noticed the sandals. That is really cool.
That is really cool, isn't it? Anyway, 97% of you lot voted that a hack as well. So that's basically about as unanimous as it's possible to get. So there we go. Right. That's hack or bodge for this week. As ever, keep voting over on the GCN app and keep submitting your awesome hacks and bodges as well. And let's not have a sweat off.
No.
By the way, let's never do that. It's time now for Caption Competition, that part of the show where you get a chance to get your hands on a coveted GCN Elite Water Bowl. All you got to do is put a witty caption in the comment section down below that relates to a photo we'll give you shortly. But first up, the results, as always, of last week where we gave you this photo.
Yeah, we had loads of response on this
We
one.
did indeed.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved going through these. And I picked out my favourite.
Go on.
From Matthew Bainham. Sai requires his sweat patch to be recreated for consistency when out filming another fantastic GCN episode. You're such a sweaty man. You're such a sweaty man.
I literally thought we just moved on from this. Matthew, that is not funny in the slightest. Begrudgingly, if you get in touch, we will send you out a GCN Elite water bottle. Maybe a used one. Hang on. a used water bottle, perhaps one of mine, maybe. No, anyway, well done. Right, caption photo. I'm going to get my own back now. This week, we're going to go with one slightly different. I found this photo in the complete guide to cycling psychology. So that's your photo this week. Hank on the back of a tandem.
Right, go easy.
Yeah.
Go easy.
I don't think I'm even going to get you started. I just want you guys to have a blank sheet of paper, a bit of blue sky thinking.
Right, go easy, team. Remember, I'm going to be looking at every single comment. Every single one.
The winner will have to be clean, but of course you can write what you like in the comment section and we will all enjoy it.
Moving on to comment of the week. It's now time for comment of the week. This is the time of the show where we go through all the comments under the week's videos and pick out some of the favourites or some ones that stick out to us. And I'm going to kick off with one under the Shimano 105 is just as good as the Durace video. And one from Charles Smith that I liked immensely was, as they always say, if you have to pay your own money for Durace, then you don't need it.
I did chuckle when I read that. I've never heard anyone say that before, but yeah, I mean, well, there's a difference between need and want though, isn't there?
There is.
Anyway, there's a debate for another day. Right.
Stall it.
There's a debate for another day. Right, underneath the cycling psychology vid, actually, where we spoke to Dr. Jim Taylor, author of the book, along with Mark.
We did
co-authoring the book. And Paulie M said, much like a bad hangover, finding someone who feels worse than I do often helps me feel better. And that is so true, isn't it?
True.
I remember in races, like riding along, and you'd look over and someone would be looking really composed, and I'd be like, oh no, oh God, I feel awful. And then they get dropped, and suddenly you're like, hey, check it out.
It's the same as when I'm filming with Connor when it's cold. You know, I'm feeling the cold, but I look at him and he's freezing his nuts off, and I'm like, at least I'm not looking like that.
Yeah, it's true.
We got another one under there though, from Perry. What helps me is remembering that I have never regretted a workout. I may be severely unmotivated when I start, but I'm always glad I did it when it finished. And it's so true, that, isn't it?
It is, but there are workouts that I've regretted.
What, off post when you're puking?
No, when I'm like, wow, that was like
tough.
When you've just overdone it. One workout and bam, overtraining. Anyway, that's for another day as well. Do this to survive a bonk. That was a cracking video last week. If you've not seen it, check it out. Renaissance String said, I laughed out loud when Connor crumbled doing push-ups. Damn, he's such a funny lad. Top stuff, mate. He's quite amusing, isn't he? Some of the time.
He's a comical genius sometimes.
He is, yep.
Under last week's show, we've got one from Elbra. I use deep aero wheels for aesthetics. I like to look good when I get dropped and give confidence to the younger riders.
That's it.
Quite like.
There's no problem with liking to look good when you ride a push bike.
Too right.
Okay, and then under the Flanders video where Ollie tried to complete Flanders in a day, a lot of comments here, James, about people thinking Ollie is a cycling god. So I thought I'd read them out to you. Soren B, Ollie's become such a good climber and is a real inspiration for me as climbing I've always struggled with, basically. Then Der Vikinger, Ollie is my cycling inspiration in life. Well done, mate. And then Usman Gia said, I don't think I was ever so excited about a cycling challenge and now I want to do it. There you go. So yeah. He'd have dropped you on every one of those 59 bergs, and you know it.
It's true. It is true. No, he is. Like we can't deny it. He's absolutely flying.
He's absolutely pinging. Yeah. Fine fettle.
Anyway, what's happening this week?
I don't know. Let's get through it. What's coming up on GCN this week then? On Wednesday, how to be a happier cyclist.
Yep.
On Thursday, how to ride at night. Oh man, the nights are drawing in.
Yeah. On Friday, this is why you are so tired. Saturday, we rode to work every day for a month. This is what's happened. And Sunday, a Mallorca epic gravel ride with Manon.
That's right, yeah. That is, by the way, the conclusion of our commuter challenge, that one. And you guys did super well. So thank everyone for taking part, sending in your vlogs to the GCN app, and thank you also to the crew from here at GCN that have taken part as well. I cannot wait for you to see that vid. Some of the exploits over the last month have been totally awesome. So yeah, find out whether Extreme Commuter Steve managed to do it, and mate, superhuman effort.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
Right then, one last thing, by the way. We are looking to find the world's best bike shops. So you might have seen on our social media that we're doing exactly that. So get involved, tag your favourite bike shop in under the post on Instagram or wherever you've seen it. But yeah, we want to know, what are the world's best bike shops as voted for by you?
And then we can go and visit, maybe.
Yeah. Where would you like to go? Maybe Australia,
Africa,
Philippines,
Bahamas.
maybe back in Arkansas. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll leave it with you.
Yeah, we've got to watch out our carbon footprint. Yeah, if there's anyone still watching by this point, mate. Yeah, they'll get the GCN Endurance Award medal.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
There's a free copy of the psychology book coming your way, just so you can toughen up even more.
Oh God.
What happened? What's happened to us?
I don't know. We enjoy it too much.